So, yeah, thank you for being here in one of our little projects, DUDOC Vancouver, where we tried to show Dutch innovations, a little bit of Dutch design. But I'd like to seize the opportunity to tell you a little bit more about what Wallace is and what we're doing. I see concerned looks by Mark because he knows when I start talking, I say no more. So I'll try to make it to the last slide, but I will tell you about the last slide. The last slide says that I will do this more extensively on March 3rd, talking about Earth Chartered Cities, one of the projects that we're doing. And I'll give you a little bit about the background. What defines Wallace is, first of all, that we'd like to create values in new communities. What does that mean? We'll try to explain that a little bit. But it's about economic development. As a developer, usually people think that we're all about real estate, and real estate is, for us, is just a secondary thing that happens around good community development. It's never a first challenge for us. But economic and social developments are very important for us, trying to create a good base for a place where people like to live for a long time, where they can redevelop themselves, where they can reinvent themselves, where they can challenge themselves. I think that's the main course for real sustainability. And then we do try to find the best built environment for that. Could be an existing fabric, could be new. And I think wherever we go, we'd like to leave a legacy of things that are being created, like new jobs, people feeling happy, feeling healthy, and also educate people on how they can work all these things themselves. So knowledge build up for us is very important, and we also focus always on the local economy. So we try to not deal too much with international companies. I shouldn't say that too hard here, because we're just trying to reach out to KLM and Philips and stuff like that. But still, local economy, I think, for the future of cities is more and more important. If you're talking about retail or different things, local entrepreneurship is very important. So I think if you're talking about real development, not just the real estate, I think it all starts with community. Defining how people want to live, what kind of people want to live somewhere for the long term, not just for the development phase. So the performance of places is much more important than the development of places for us. And we work in two different ways. One is, let's say, the master plan. That's most familiar to us. So we sit together in City Hall or somewhere else, and we start designing, we start reading statistics, we talk to everybody and see, okay, what do we think is very feasible? We try to apply policies and then hope there will be a community later, because we're not really sure. And the bigger the master plan, the bigger the failure too. Europe is full of that. The papers are full of that. Like, this is costing much more than we thought, and it's all because we think with a small group that we can design the future of communities, and that's a big risk. But we are involved in that. This is the Hafen City Hamburg. So what happened there, the whole development there, very fun development in existing fabric in old industrial areas, but they also were concerned about the future of their community. And so what they did is invite followers of Jane Jacobs from all over the world that had a little bit of a track record. I was one of them. We also wrote a book about creating a community in Hafen City Hamburg. So click a few times. So you know all these phases. It was very interesting, but also a very big project. If you click again, then you see there's old buildings and new buildings, and we always find it very interesting to go to conferences and see pictures like that, because, well, you know, these are not real people. We can go to conferences like DUDOC or whatever, and we can talk about 2 days about communities, and we don't see one real person in the pictures. It's all drawings and stuff like that. So we'd like to change that. This is all Hafen City Hamburg. It's now, after a really tough start, it's now a place where people really like to be. And you can click again. Because the other way that we work is in the same kind of areas, and we did that for the national government in Holland. We worked in 7 cities, thought about the creative class and the future of creative communities, and not doing a master plan, but just start. We have a place now, start tomorrow with the community, try to build it up. And we also wrote a book about this. We called it New Ideas for Old Buildings. Again, I'm a Jacobsian. So she said, if you want to build a new economy, you have to use your old buildings to get it started. and I really believe in that. So if we click that, you can see that it starts really different. So we started with a small restaurant just made of plastic and a small wood heater, and we thought, okay, we'll do this for the first year and see if we can really get it started. Now it's in its 12th year of operations, very successful, one of the best restaurants in the area, and really started the whole process. We used the cranes, for instance, for hotel rooms, and if you click, you can see that doesn't look like a master plan community. Just use what there is, you involve the community, you start things, bring people together, and you can see that that leads to another business, and actually quite successful. If you click again, big old areas where we founded box-in-box construction, so the creative communities could get there together. And again, if you click, please. What happened in the end, there was such a nice community that head offices of international companies like MTV and a famous Dutch group called HEMA, they all got to that area. And what we discovered that in 7 years' time, the master plan in Hamburg took 7 years just to get started in the first project. This, in 7 years, developed to a phase and an economic base, a value base that Hamburg needed for 5 years after development. And after 10, 15 years, the economic performance of the places were exactly the same. The only thing is, you think with a master plan, you don't have to, you're not accepting risks and challenges. And people feel that if you're starting a community the other way, like they did in Amsterdam, there's no numbers, there's no quantities involved, so you're accepting all these insecurities. But basically, the real good model for developing the communities is actually the Amsterdam model or the Berlin model. They never fail because you really slowly build it up and you get to these high values anyway. But it's a very interesting thought, and we're involved in both processes. For us, it's very obvious cities are about people, and it seems such an obvious remark, but very often we're talking about buildings, about technical solutions, about technical sustainability, and not about what it really does for people. Because if people don't use the city in their optimum phase, nothing can be sustainable. So that's how we think. So for us, community development is very important. If you know what kind of community, we try to invent the best built environment for that. You really have to think about the social structure and how we create jobs and how we activate people all the time, not just to get a development started, but all the time. It's about health and local food. And I also have to say it's also about happiness. Happiness and sustainability are really connected. But there's also more technical things like all the time, wherever we go, the nexus of water, waste, and energy is very important, and also about innovation. So, just quickly about one of our projects, and we go really fast. So this is a project in the south where we tried to build a new community. It was really deserted, old coal mining area. It was one big building was left. It's the building over here, the former statistics office in Holland, 600,000 square feet of buildings. Nobody wanted to touch it. And we decided to create a new environment around that. So a little bit of offices, creative businesses, local entrepreneurs, new technical facilities. So we took the risk on all of that. Started that 7 May 2012. So it's almost in the third year. We were lucky to be that successful. There's 1,200 jobs in here now, in an area that nobody believed in. Not all of them are new jobs. People moved from the region to this building. 400 new jobs. We will not keep up that rate, but it's very interesting. And we applied a lot of new techniques, like we got off-grid. We built our own energy company there. It's called Blue Grid, with solar energy and also with algae energy. We can also do a lot of other stuff with the algae. And we also founded a lot of local companies around that, so local people work in that, bring all those innovations together. And, so that's very interesting. We call it eco-growth, eco meaning ecology and economy. Please click that. So the things that we brought in here is new ways of waste management, biomass reuse. So our energy grid is wind and solar and biomass reuse. We have green roofs now. We have a smart data center that we organized in a different way, so we can reuse the heat. Actually, the energy that goes in, we use it like twice. So it goes into the data center first, but it almost comes out 100% for us to grow plants. And it has a lot of other sustainable effects as well. But we'll get in there a bit more. So this is the solar energy, of course, and a little bit of wind, and just click on. This is very interesting. Like algae is the source of the future. So just to explain, this is what we did in Hamburg first. This is a building with 22 apartments, and the whole energy need is just generated by algae. So they're in triple pane windows. You only feed them CO2. You can buy CO2 from carbon trade, so that's very interesting. And they start blooming and generate enough energy and heat to heat the 22 condos. And we can harvest the algae and use it for all kinds of other stuff. So if you click further, I think you'll explain that a little bit more. So we bring that in a loop with aquaponic. So we grow fish in our buildings, and the fish eat the waste of tomatoes, and the tomatoes eat the waste of the fish. So it's all in our buildings, and we bring that to local economy. It was not a perfect system, but now we applied the algae in there as well for the energy resource, and also the algae clean the water. Actually, if you would use algae in your water treatment systems, you could actually build drinking water, and they also clean the antibiotics from the waste water. So it's a miracle project. So the third loop is there now, and means that we have a lot of different business models on small square footage. And if you click on, so just click, you can see the algae create food for us, the omega-3 food, feed for animals, fuel, biodiesel. It's a very good source for cosmetics. And so it just explains that if you're going into a new building, we try to build economy and social structures and jobs. So economy, social, cultural, sustainable, they're all one thing for us if we're talking about communities, and more food is in there as well. And because we think this way, in the next slide we'll see that we got involved in the Earth Charter Cities. Just click on. So this is a model that we use for community development, but I'd like to talk to you a little bit about Earth Charter Cities. Because of our different approach, the UN Habitat and the Earth Charter movement approaches us at one point, because they knew that, if you click to the following page, that in their research 2040, there's 10 billion people prospected, 85% will live in urban areas. So the need for effective engines, being our cities, for our economy and the future of our Earth, are more and more important. So they wanted to have an actionable plan around Earth Charter, and they asked me to come up with a sustainable plan for the future and principles of sustainability for our cities, which is a blend of the Earth Charter, the original Earth Charter, some insights of Jane Jacobs, some insights about placemaking, and that's what we're trying to apply. And if you click further, so we'll let you read this, but it's a very holistic system about sustainability. So if we're going to assess that, it's not that we're choosing for, okay, this should be LEED or this should be BREEAM. It's all about self-assessment. People one, it's all about trying to improve. Just click to the next page, please. So if you look at the Earth Charter, it's about ecology, it's about respect and care. So it's about going back to your ethical why of sustainability. I think that's still a challenge that we have to face. It's about social economic justice, and it's also about governance. So if you click to the following one. So we are now one of the partner organizations, and also the head office of Earth Charter might be here. And again, please. So this is how we build it up. Fair business, ecology, all those things are very important. Going back to the why, and if you go to the next slide, the 5 C's, communities, cities, corporations, are all very important. And now we're talking about assessment, and that's the next slide. Just very short, like what we think, when we launched this, we talked to very different cities. And in the West, people said, okay, we want to quantify. We want to know what we're doing. The city said, okay, give us numbers so we can see how we're doing. So here, if you're talking about the technical part, it was Lead, or in Holland it was Graham or something else. But we also talked to cities like Lagos or in South America, and they said, well, this is the way that the West is colonizing us again. We cannot compete with your Lead. But if we, as Lagos, improve ourselves 15%, we're doing much more than you. So it should be about the improvement of our performance. And if everybody improves like 10 to 15%, and let us choose how we want to do it, then the world is much better off than trying to meet a standard of a certain quantifiable number. So the relative movement of improvement is much more important. So we went back to the Earth Charter and said, okay, we should go into a process of self-assessment. So people internalize the Earth Charter and say, okay, we want to do better. What are we doing? And then also get access to improvements and innovations to see if they can make decisions on the improvements and do a yearly report on that. So they can do that all by themselves, or they can hire us or somebody else to do it. And that's what we've been launching this year. So if you're going into that. So I'll talk a lot more about it on March 3rd. The introduction about Earth Charter and how we deal with Earth Charter in the future. This summer is the 15th year anniversary of Earth Charter, which also means we're going into actionable plans before that. We have some mini conferences on that. So we will all invite you if you leave your address for us. And just looking at Earth Charter, we have 3 ladies there that will work for us for the Earth Charter implementation. And then our Wallace team, Irma, Wilco, and Anna will do it on this side as well. So thank you for listening to us, so you know who your host is and how we think. And enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Thank you.